Welcome to lesson 6 in section 5, visualizing and summarizing sample data, titled R Labs Data Visualizations. Okay, so in this short lab, I just want to introduce you to the use of ggplot, which is part of the Tidyverse universe of packages for creating basic data visualizations in R. And so the first thing you need to do is install the package. And so just run this piece of code before go any further. And I've already run it to save some time. We're working with the NHANES as usual. So again, I need to load in the NHANES and then subset a data frame only containing the adults in that data set. I want to begin with a basic bar chart or bar graph broken down by gender. So for the gender variable here. R is very much a function-based language. And so the base function is called ggplot. And within that, first argument you provide is the name of the data frame. And the second argument is a function in itself called the AES, and that stands for aesthetics mapping. And within that function, you provide, for the argument, you provide the name of the variable. And so that's basically the data. And so what it's basically saying, provide me with the data that we want to map to a particular aesthetic graph. Plus syntax here, geom_bar, that creates the bar graph. You can provide different arguments for how it looks. And we just provide a few here. Color red, that's the border color, the fill of the bar, and then the width of the bar. And then again, plus sign labs function representing labels. And so we can put in a title label for the x-axis, labels for the y-axis. All right, so we see here what it looks like, broken down by gender and the number of individuals in each of the group. All right, so that's what it looks like. So you play around with it. There are other arguments. Again, you can go and there's a reference, a link to geom_bar to learn more. You can, again, change this to say black, make the fill blue, and let's see how that changes things. So you see, play around with it. Now, this is the width of the bar. This is simply the percentage width or the proportion of the width that's available to you. We could change this to 0.9 and would make the bars bigger. And see that's the space allocated to each of the bars has been used up. All right, so that's a basic bar graph. But let's move now to creating histograms for quantitative data. And so we make use of the geom_histogram function to create histogram. So let's do a histogram of weight for all adults in our data set. The base function, ggplot function, and the arguments provided is the same as before. In this case, providing in the AES function within the ggplot function, providing the name of the variable weight, the quantitative variable weight. Then plus sign and then geom and provide the arguments for that color fill. But in this case, it's called bin width for the width of the bins, which you can let the computer let R decide it for itself automatically by default, or you can provide a value for it, and that will be in the value of the quantitative variable in kilos in this case. And then labels again using the labs function. Okay, so let's run that and see what it looks like. The bin width was 5 kilos. Here's the histogram showing that a small percentage of adult Americans are extremely obese. It's in kilos. And so it's a skewed to the right distribution. Again, the function of this lesson is just to introduce you to the code, not to get into talking about the visuals. Play around with that more if you'd like, with the colors and the bin widths. Don't have few bins, don't have too many, maybe just let R decide on that. All right, so that's weight. Let's look at the histogram of height for all adults. Again, nothing much changed here. The variable we're providing to the ggplot function has changed to height here. And the bin width now, I've had 2. Again, it's a different variable. It's measured in centimeters. And so we can see here that the histogram of height, the distribution of height for all adults, as we see, it's pretty normally distributed. And this is quality data, representative data of the US population. We can see the normal distribution of heights for all adults. However, we know that the distribution of heights for men versus women, or males versus females, is different. And there's a different lower average for females than for males. Create 2 histograms on top of each other to visualize that. What happens here in the change of the code, the color argument is moved from the geom_histogram function into the ggplot function, or the EAES function within the ggplot function. It's the second argument to it there. So it's simply saying we want the borders, because the color argument is for the borders of the bars and in the histogram in this case, to be different. And that's what that is doing. We want the data for height to be broken down by gender. As part of the aesthetics function, it's saying simply give different border colors to the bars. Okay, all right. And so other than that, this remains the same. The lab's titles just by gender here. Okay, so let's just run that and see what we get. And we see here that the distribution of heights for females is to the left of the distribution of heights for males, but both are normally distributed. And so next, box plots for quantitative data. We'll look at household income, and we simply will just create a single box plot for household income. The base ggplot function remains the same, and now it's making use of geom box plot. Fill white and a color of blue. Okay, and so let's run that. Again, it's just a very basic plot. You can make it more sophisticated, do more changes. There's a link provided to learn more about the arguments to the geom box plot. All right, so that's how we create a box plot, but let's create a comparative box plot and breaking down the household incomes by race. And so the race variable is race 1 in this data set. And as in the previous example, breaking down by gender, the histogram, creating separate box plots by race. The border colors are controlled by the color argument, and we move the color argument into the aesthetics function within the ggplot function, or by default, we'll choose the colors for each box plot. All right, so let's run that. That's the only really change in to create comparative box plots. And so anyway, I'm not getting into a discussion right now. We'll do comparative analysis of household income in a later R lesson. You can see the median income for Blacks and Hispanics is roughly around the same. The lowest median income for Mexicans, the highest median income for whites here. Let's just finish off with one more basic example. Create a scatter plots using the geom_point function. Again, at the base, it's much the same, but now we have two variables in a scatter plot. And so within the aesthetics, AES function as an argument to the ggplot function, we provide two arguments, one for the x-axis and y-axis. So x will be height and y will be weight. Then the geom_point function, and just provide an argument for the color of the data points. And then we have the labs function again for labels. Okay, so let's run that and see what that looks like. And so here we see a scatter plot. And remember, there's over 7,000 observations, roughly 7,400 observations in this data set. So a lot of data points. You can see here a linear relationship between the two, which we'd expect. We expect that the taller someone is, the heavier they will be on average. So later on, when we get to linear regression, we will analyze this further by fitting a line to data, calculating correlation, do a statistical inference of the linear relationship between these two variables. We saw skewness in weight, and so we can see up here skewness represented by outlying values of weight for individuals, a number of outlying values here representing extremely obese individuals. All right, well, that's it for this introduction to R, the ggplot, creating data visualizations. Until our next lesson, enjoy your day. Okay, bye.